Yeah, so welcome to Dive In. A couple of things about this evening, just in case you are here for the first time. So this is a 90-minute forum really dedicated to inquiry, right, to this wonderful practice of inquiry. And it's really a kind of unique kind of space in that we really talk about the ins and outs of the practice. So if you do the diamond approach, chances are, there's lots of talk and teaching and everything about the territory that you find. And here we're sort of tend to focus more on the method, right? The actual practical approach to inquiry, how to inquire. So this is a public forum, so it's intended for people who are, there are people here who are very experienced with inquiry, who've been doing inquiry for years, and there are people here who are brand new to inquiry, right, who may never have inquired before and are just curious to get a taste. So it really is by intention, by design. We welcome all of those, everybody here, right? All these different levels of experience. And whatever your question is, no matter how basic or elementary or how subtle or refined, it's all welcome, right? So whatever your questions or your sharings about the practice are all welcome here. It's a public forum. We are recording it, so you should be aware of that. We don't record all the participants' images. So the recording is just recording my image. But if you ask a question, your question will be recorded. So if you don't want that, you can always pop your question into the chat. I do invite you to, as much as you can, if you're comfortable, to have your camera on, because that, helps us all get a feeling of being in a live forum together. So that's part of what I'd like to encourage. And yeah, we hold everything sort of confidentially. And but as I said, be aware that it is a public forum. So we want it to be a safe space to inquire, and at the same time, you don't want to necessarily reveal your deepest, darkest secrets, for example. So there's a way to kind of hold that balance of being able to engage in your process and be in a truthful and real exploration of where you're at, and being mindful that you don't necessarily want to say things that for you would be sensitive if they got out, because we may not have control on that. So just a reminder about that. So it's a very interesting session we have planned this evening. We're going to be focusing on the belly. So in case you hadn't noticed, through the series, we've basically done one meeting more or less per chapter of the book, right? So we've been working through Diving in the Inner Ocean, and each evening has sort of focused on, I do a little bit of teaching, a little bit of guided practice related to some aspect of inquiry. And those aspects have kind of been following the thread of the book. And today, we are about to start on the last three, which really deal with the head, the heart, and the belly center. And in the book, I don't know if I can even remember, I think I did I do the head first? Or anyway, I did the head first or the heart first. I know for sure I did the belly last. And I've reflected on that and kind of wondered about that. And I think if I were redoing it, if I were writing it now, I might put the belly first of the three centers. So in this forum, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to start this evening with the belly, talk a little bit about the belly and what that is in inquiry. And because it really is one of the most distinctive and defining elements of inquiry. All the other elements like feelings and ideas and beliefs, there are more common understandings of those things. But when it comes to the belly, the the diamond approach and our inquiry has really something quite unique to contribute that's not widely recognized elsewhere. So this evening, we're going to touch on that. So let's begin as we do with a short practice, short guided practice. And today we're going to begin with a short concentration practice. So I would invite you to find a comfortable sitting position. And as you begin to turn towards your inner world, remember that friendly interest, right? That's so basic, so fundamental. You don't know what you're going to find. We never really know what's going to be there. And so we approach ourselves with a kind, curious attitude. And just notice where you are as you begin tonight or this morning. How are you feeling? How's your energy? What's on your mind? Just a momentary check-in of landing wherever you are with whatever is here. You don't have to change a thing. You're just a little more aware of yourself, your experience. And then whatever's going on for you, whatever is there in all of your experience, bring your attention to your feet and feel your feet in contact with the floor. Just taking a moment to sense the immediate sensations of your feet. And then sense your butt on the chair, the weight of your torso, support of the chair, your feet in your seat. Notice your spine rising up, wants to be relaxed, upright, but not tense. Let your attention rise all the way up your spine to your neck, slightly lengthening your neck, dipping your chin. And sensing over your head, let your eyes be closed lightly, just gently closed. Your jaw, you can give it a wiggle, a move, let it be relaxed. The teeth are slightly parted. And coming further down, sense the movement of your torso as you breathe, expanding with the inhale, relaxing with the exhale. And then in particular, bring your attention to your lower belly. You can place one hand over your lower belly and cup it with the other hand. So both hands are resting on the lower belly, the area below your belly button. So this is a common focus of meditation in many traditions. And as we start off, take a moment to notice what you sense there. So if you sense into that area of your lower belly, you want to see what palpable sensations are you in touch with. Maybe the warmth of your hand, the pressure of your hand against your belly. Maybe your clothing or your belt. Perhaps the movement of your belly wall as you breathe. You might feel the weight of your meal if you ate recently. So what can you actually sense there? There's no right or wrong answer, nothing you're supposed to find, but you are letting yourself get in touch with the immediacy of whatever is there to be sensed. It may be, I've mentioned some obvious physical type things. There may be other kinds of sensations. Maybe there's a pain or an ache or an emptiness, a sense of hollowness, or a sense of fullness, fleshiness or juiciness. Maybe it feels pleasurable or empty or open. You may be able to sense energy or streaming or movement. You may sense not much at all. Maybe there's nothing there, no sensation. In which case, that's a sensation, right? So just sense that. May feel like bubbling up or like lava or like a galaxy. So if you don't limit the possibilities of what you sense in your lower belly, if you just come to the immediacy of what's there and sense it as it is, and as it changes from moment to moment, or stays the same, just bringing all the attention you have to sensing this part of your body, of your experience, of your consciousness. And so we're going to sit for a few minutes in silence, continuing to sense our lower bellies, whatever may unfold there. And if you find yourself wandering off and getting caught up in thoughts or feelings or other things within your inner world, as soon as you notice that, it's no problem. You just bring your attention back to sensing your belly. Now see if you can let this be the most important thing for the next few minutes. And if your attention has wandered, just notice that and come back to sensing your belly, your lower belly, seeing what's there to be felt. And take one more breath, sensing your belly. And with the exhale, release the concentration, the focus. And let your awareness open up, become more like a whole field of experience and sensation. It's like you're opening up to the whole of the inner ocean to become more aware of what's here. And just see what begins to come into your awareness as you do that. What do you begin to notice? Feelings, your thoughts, perhaps your sensations, your body. Just giving space to it all. Once again, sense your feet, your legs, your seat. Your hands, your arms, your shoulders. And add listening, opening to the sounds around you. And then slowly let your eyes open and begin to add looking. Sensing, looking, listening. If you're in the UK, there's a good chance you're sensing a certain amount of heat. It's certainly very warm here, I can tell you. So out of curiosity, just out of interest, if you feel moved to, type a word or two into the chat just to describe what you sense in your belly. Something that you sense there. Might be very ordinary. It might be very out there. It really doesn't matter. Just say something. Let's see a little sample of what there was to sense. Firmness. Bubbling, solid and dull, sleepiness, tingly, whirring energy with solidity, yeah. Fullness, fleshy, steady, solid, strength, heaviness, like an engine room. Open space, vibrating energy, softness, a point of consciousness, concentrated point, calm, settled, settledness, yeah. So look at that list. Right? If you look at all those different qualities, pulsing, pulsating. If you look at all those different qualities and you went and spoke to somebody on the street and you said, you know, sense your belly. What's your belly? What is your belly? Sense your belly. What's that? And they'll go like, oh, that's my belly, right? It's just like a piece of my tummy or my, you know, a piece of skin or a piece of flesh. But what you can see, or they might point to the anatomy of it, you know, there's a little layer of fat there, more for some of us than others, right? Skin, stomach and intestines and all kinds of things like that. So that's what's there in your physical body when you think about your body. But the truth is, like, that's not what we experience. That isn't the experience of the belly. When you actually come to the immediacy of the experience, well, look what you find. I mean, however many, 20-something people here, more or less 20 different qualities. Some more common threads, right? So a number of couple in the direction of solidity and steadiness, and, you know, a few more like that. But wide variety, wide different quality of different kinds of consciousness, different ways of experiencing your belly. So this is really significant, right? If we take this seriously, yeah, our experience of our body, what we usually think of as our body, is just, you know, flesh and organs and bones and nerves and all the rest of it, right? I mean, that's fine. There's nothing that's very useful. Soft roll of fat and acceptance. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So really there is so much there in the experience of our body. And just like this, we could talk about our belly, say the same thing about our experience of our heart. I say to people, like, sense into your chest area, like into your heart. What do you feel there? All kinds of things, right? That have nothing really to do with the heart, the mechanical, not mechanical, it's not a nice word, but the organ pumping the blood around your body. And it's the same with the head. You start sensing into the head, the sensations and the experience of consciousness in the head. Once again, it's not your brain. You are not sensing your brain. I don't even think we have sensors to directly sense the brain, but you can sense all kinds of things up there, right? Stillness, openness, diamond qualities. I mean, all kind of brilliancy, all kinds of qualities. So in a certain way, that's it. That's the headline, right? That's the thing to appreciate. I was having a conversation the other day. I'm teaching a weekend in London this weekend coming. We're going to be in person for the first time since COVID. And there are a number of new people coming, and somebody was asking me about, diamond approach, spoke a bit about it. And I was then talking a little bit about sensing. And he said, so it's like, like embodied practice, like sensing the body. And people in, different schools of psychology, mindfulness-based various psychologies, all of this. So this embodiment thing is quite a thing, right? It's very popular and catchword, and people talk about, including the body and embodiment and all these kind of things. But mostly what I notice is when they talk about it, they take some steps in the direction that we go. They take a few steps, but they still broadly stay within the kind of anatomical, the sort of confines of the anatomical way of thinking about things. So what you can sense in your body is your movement and your expressions and, certain obvious like emotional kinds of reactions, like getting anxiety in your tummy or, getting a headache or something like that, right? So there's space for those kinds of things, but, and space for maybe things that might seem energetic or, like energy streaming or aliveness or deadness, those kind of things. But points of consciousness, calm, that you can actually sense the calm itself, the solidity, that you could sense solidity there. And that actually, if you inquire into that solidity and you really take the time to feel it more and more finely, you might actually sense a kind of solid substance, perhaps, like something metallic or something wooden or so, like some kind of solid density, or like a clear glass or crystal or diamond, right? The idea or the notion that it's possible that that is what sensing the body can reveal is not widely out there. People don't think of it that way. They don't go, very few go all the way to freeing the idea of what we're sensing when we're sensing our body, so that it can really be what it actually is in our experience. So I'm not saying this because it's like some kind of outrageous thing, or I'm trying to be weird or esoteric or anything like that. It's just the simple truth. It's like the fact that when you begin to pay attention to the sensations of your body, these are actually the things you start to find. Right? This is really what you begin to find. And at some point, you recognize that what you are sensing is actually not your body in the sort of medical notion of the body, but you're really sensing your consciousness. You're sensing consciousness, sensing the immediacy of experience. And, I think neuroscience is making steps in understanding how this operates. So I don't think the sort of scientific and the more mystical type views are incompatible, personally. But it's really the thing that Hamid excels at more than, if there's anything else, it's kind of the sort of amazing fidelity to what you can actually tell from the immediacy of the experience. Forget the ideas about it. Forget your notions about your belly. When you come to the actual felt sense of it, what do you find? And just be interested in that. Be open to that. Be curious about that. That is really our practice. That's really what inquiry invites. So in time, what we see is that we cannot really fully recognize where we are and what's going on without including this felt layer, this sensed layer. So we have to see what's happening in our minds. We have to see how we're feeling, what kind of feelings and affects and emotions and so forth are present. And we have to sense the very embodiment of our consciousness. We have to sense our consciousness itself. And that begins by just what looks like just sensing your body. You don't have to go looking for anything weird. You really don't. You just have to sense your body, sense yourself as you do, and see what you find. See what it's like. Right. It's not obvious. I remember working with a student many years ago who was, she was a psychologist. She, done lots of work. She was into meditation, all kinds of things. And she said she was doing a session. She was sad and teary and felt sad. And I said to her, how do you experience that in your body, the sadness? She sort of looked at me and she said, what? What do you mean? It hadn't occurred to her that you could actually sense the sadness, that you could feel the sadness in your heart, in your chest, or perhaps in your eyes, that there is actually a sensation that arises together with sadness. So all of our experiences, our feelings, our essence, even all of our ego reactions and our ideas and beliefs, all of these things have sensate counterparts. They also come with things that we can sense in our body. And for our inquiry to really become transformative and powerful, we need to include them. We need to sensitize ourselves to that layer of our experience. And, that is a practice. That's true. For most of us, it's not what we grew up sensing. It's not the familiar thing. For many of us, we don't even think such a thing is really a thing. It doesn't even occur to us, right? That I might feel the joy as a bubbly lightness welling up in my heart. Who knew? Right? So we're taking a turn that is not widely talked about in the culture. Although, as I say in the book, like our language is completely full of it. Our language is absolutely full of this. Right? If you really look at it, we say light-hearted. Why do we say light-hearted when someone's happy? Well, it's because when you feel the joy, you can actually feel lightness in your heart, in contrast to feeling heavy-hearted. So there's so many examples like that. I'm not going to run over those now. But suffice to say, our language is really completely littered with it. So this is really there. It's a real thing that's there to be felt. It's not like the Diamond Approach made this up or discovered it. It really is there if anybody takes the time to, cultivate this level of sensitivity to themselves. But we have really kind of built our practice around it. It's really a central thing to the practice, because in many ways you can have all kinds of theories about your experience. You can have all kinds of ideas. You can have all sorts of emotional reactions and feelings, or you can bounce around. But when you come to sensing your experience, you are sensing what is actually there, and it's there whatever you think about it, right? So it provides a kind of grounding for your experience. Very, very useful, very important. Yeah, so when you check in, include this level, include this level of your experience. What am I sensing? What am I in touch with? I've noticed that for some people at the beginning, it feels like that's not really directly connected. Like they're used to talking about their feelings, or they're used to talking about their ideas or their situations. And when you say, well, what are you actually sensing? They're like, hang on, you're asking me to leave where I am and leave my experience and go and do this other thing that isn't where I am. And, it might feel like that for a bit if it's unfamiliar to you, if it's not something you're used to doing. That's fine. That's not a problem, right? You're not doing something wrong. But there is an invitation to try it out, right? To, when you inquire, to come to a certain point, maybe with some feelings or some ideas, or you're talking about a situation, and then to go, okay, so what am I sensing in my body? What am I actually, what sensations in my body draw me or catch my attention? Right? And to give yourself time with that, to see what begins to be revealed. So I think I've said enough about that. Let's see quickly if there's any questions, and then I'm going to have you do just a short exercise to kind of get even more in touch with this layer for yourselves. So I don't know that I can see everybody at once, so do raise your electronic hand, but right now I do see Sue. Sue, you raised your hand. So just unmute and go ahead.
Yes, I just, I think it was very interesting what you said about forget the ideas, like you have a sensation and then forgetting the ideas. And what I read, so I had fleshy, which I was surprised. I've never had that. Like I've never said my belly's fleshy before, so it was new. But then what I realized was I had these associations with fleshy as physical. And so then I kind of dismissed it as, oh, you're just saying a physical thing you're not really sensing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was, so if you have sort of a more abstract word, then maybe you can explore it. But this, I sort of doubted it.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I thought, oh, I've just imposed an idea about, even though I said fleshy, and that's really what it was.
Yeah.
Is. So it's interesting.
That's a beautiful, beautiful example, Sue. Because really, like as you sense the fleshiness, right? So what's lovely is you recognize, well, if you're just honest, remember we're always guided by the truth, right? The truth just means, well, if I'm just honest about it, what do I sense? And in this case, it was fleshiness. Right? But you could then also notice you had ideas about what that means. Okay, so I think fleshy just means fleshy, but maybe it doesn't. What if you just stay with the fleshiness and sense the fleshiness, right? And see, oh, what is it that feels fleshy, right? What's this fleshiness like? How does it make me feel? There are qualities of presence that feel very fleshy, fleshy and full and right, juicy, right? So if you, even if it seems like an anatomical thing, right? Well, just hold it open. Right.
And actually, it didn't seem like that. It seemed fleshy.
Yeah.
Before I even had a chance to just be with it, like you said, like give it a chance, stay with it. I noticed it got clouded by ideas about fleshy, which is nothing to do with what I was. So that's like nothing to do with what I was experiencing. I didn't, because the word had it was in the bank of words as opposed to a word that's not in the bank of words.
Yes. So that's wonderful. And that's unavoidable, right? So oftentimes the words will come with associations. And again, all you need to do is clarify the association. So just see them. Like, oh, yeah, okay. So I'd say fleshy and I can see as like that assumption and that. Okay, well, what was lovely in what you said, from the immediacy of the experience, you could tell that that wasn't exactly right. And that helped you see that the assumptions were just assumptions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it felt fresh and new.
Yeah, lovely. So you can just trust that. That's great. Yeah. Any other quick questions before you go do something? Isolde, I've just seen your your message in South Africa. I believe the load shedding is really challenging right now. So if you drop off, manage it however you need to manage it. That's fine. For those who are not in South Africa, load shedding is a South African term for, well, more or less planned power outages. So it means there's no no electricity. Okay, so I think let's go do an exercise. So it's a relatively simple exercise. You're going to find yourself in a breakout room with, see how we're doing for time. Yeah, with one other person. And you'll each have just 5 minutes, right? And in the 5 minutes, what I want you to do is to just inquire into your sensate experience. Right? So what does that mean? That means you might be sitting there and then you just mention a sensation that you're in touch with, something in your body that you can sense. Right? And if you want to, you can stay with that sensation, right? So I feel fleshiness in my belly. Okay, I'm going to stay with that and keep sensing it and see what else I can say about it. Right? So invite it to be felt and sensed and seen and perceived and see how it affects you. So you can do that for a while. Or you could mention another sensation that's present in your body. So I'm really letting you be free. It's like you're going down into the water, down into the inner ocean, and you can look at that sensation, you can look at that sensation, you can see a bunch of different sensations. If one of them seems really interesting, you can hang out with it and see more about it and see what you can say about it. Right? So I'm just inviting you to approach your sensate felt experience and just see what's there, see how that is for you. So you'll have 5 minutes to do that, and then you'll swap over and the other person will have 5 minutes to do that. And so that'll take 10 minutes in total, and we'll have like 2 or 3 extra minutes. So, you know, if you need just to say hello and greet each other, you might be with someone you've never seen before, and grab a glass of water, whatever. But go into your breakout room first, right? So that your partner knows they have a partner. And then if you want to grab a water or go to the toilet, you can do that. Okay, there we go. So we have some time, as we do, for sharing, for questions, comments, anything you'd like to ask or to share. Very welcome. So if you do, just raise your electronic hand and unmute yourself. Love to hear how that was for you. What did you find spending 5 minutes hanging out with your sensations? Yeah, David, go ahead.
Okay, let me put my hand down as well. That was really fascinating, Dominic. When you were speaking, the bit that caught my attention most in my body was that when I'm feeling bubbling in my belly, it's part of my consciousness that I'm experiencing. Because yes, that feeling doesn't describe what can go on in my belly because there isn't a liquid in there.
Right, exactly.
And yet the bubbling occurred in my consciousness, and that was still with me when I started doing the exercise with Carrie, who's in Arkansas. I'm sitting in Berlin, so we're quite a distance apart.
Wow.
And right at the beginning, I noticed that the question that arose, which I would normally say it arose in my mind, was, could I put Arkansas in the right place on a map? To which the answer is no. But I do know something about Arkansas because it's where Bill Clinton came from. And all of that I would normally say is a mind activity, but I experienced it in my belly. And I don't think of my mind as being in my belly.
Huh, isn't that interesting?
And it's left me with a question, which you posed as well, which is the sensation appears in my physical body, but what it links to is some part of my consciousness. My mind is not part. My mind is not, you can't cut me open and find my mind.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's-
So when we suspend those usual ideas and we're just noticing the immediacy of our experience. So does that mean that those knowings and those recognitions, you felt them arising in your belly, right? Those questions and those musings.
Yes, and some of the curiosity also arose in my belly.
Oh, okay. So you
Not
had
just in my heart, which is where I'm used. This area is where I usually feel curiosity.
Uh-huh.
So yes, I'm wondering whether there's a lot more sensation in my experience that I'm missing because I'm looking in the wrong place for it, because I have a view about where my mind is and my heart and my belly.
Very good. Very good. Right on. Beautiful to just expose that. Yeah, I mean, there's a way that even using those centers, the head, the heart, and the belly, the mind, the heart, and the belly, kind of can tend to pigeonhole them, right? Whereas the reality is they're all kind of all through the whole field of experience, right? There is knowing mind occurring at every point of your consciousness, right? There can be feeling occurring at every point of your consciousness. There can be sensation, sensing occurring at every point of your consciousness. By the way, within your physical body or within the experience of your physical body, or for that matter, within your experience of, all of reality. Because when you think about it, it's all occurring in your consciousness. From the point of view of experience, it's your experience of reality is all occurring in your consciousness.
Yes, and the word that seems to come to mind is, and it seems to resonate with some part of my physical body.
Yeah, right.
Resonance. It's not so it's arising in my the thing about Arkansas arose in my consciousness and it resonated in my belly.
Right.
And it seemed to come from my belly. That's what I think. But I want to explore that further. So let's
go explore.
Beautiful. I mean, not just about Arkansas either.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful. Remove that pin. Yes, Sharon, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, first of all, sort of, I'll just fill you in a little bit about the sensation thing of the last sort of 48 hours. The amount of sensation that I've had. I mean, I literally yesterday couldn't walk very far because of the amount of constriction and the sensation in my chest.
So a lot of constriction. I see.
Horrendous and panic.
Okay.
And I made a decision not to do something. And I have had a bit of it earlier today, but since I made the decision not to do something, the sensation has started to dissipate. And then today, I have had it a bit today, but as I was expecting some of that to be there, but actually as I was with my sensation in my body, what I noticed was there was no constriction. I mean, I've been in such a state about it, I can't tell you. And literally over the last maybe 5 days.
So you really highlight the link between, so the fact that, the emotional state, right, can really be reflected in different sensations in our body, and our reactions to various things can be felt in the body.
Well, what was so interesting is I was going to go on this trip and I had a strong feeling, well, my body said no, basically, but I paid some money for it, not, well, a few £100, and, it was my body, but every time I came back to my body, there was this horrendous constriction. And so with reluctance, because I'm quite complicated, the whole thing, I cancelled it.
Mm-hmm.
And almost instantly, the constriction started to decrease.
I see. And do you have a sense of what the constriction was about?
I think it was about overextending myself.
Okay.
Which is a big pattern of mine.
I see. So as you were about to do something that was overextending yourself, there was this sense of, is that what you mean?
Yes. So I felt there was I felt I was, so I sat with the diamond approach thing the weekend, and my body was going yes to the diamond approach thing and no to the other thing.
Oh.
Very strong no.
Oh.
Okay, fuck it. I'm just not going to do this because I couldn't. Actually, my body wouldn't allow me to do it.
Yes, right. So it also highlights that, these sensations and these feelings, all these things are not random, right? They're meaningful. They're connected with something. So the more we can inquire into them, we get in touch with them. That's one level. We need to get in touch with these sensations. And then in time, we can actually begin to understand them. So there was some kind of tension, some kind of constriction. So it sounded like some part of you was saying no, right? As you said, you've said that.
Well, I mean, what was so extraordinary was the level of it.
Yeah, yeah.
That I could go from that to that.
Right.
In
8
hours.
Right. So quite dramatic.
Very
good to see.
dramatic, actually. Yeah.
And yet, and as you say, now it's not here. Yeah. Well, that's great, Sharon. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's very helpful to see that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, Ina. Go ahead.
Most interesting. It's a familiar pattern, actually, I recognized. Because I was sitting here quietly, quite peaceful, bit drowsy. I was the one with sleepiness. And then I enjoy your talk, and then the breakout rooms come. And that's what I always like. And I think it has to do with connection with other people in the morning meditations. I so much enjoy the inquiries. And now this came across this young lady I've never met before. And then I become alive, but it's not so much sensation, sensate. It's, and then she had her 5 minutes and I had my 5 minutes. And it's not enough for me to go to my body to be aware of what I feel. And then I always need to do a bit of talking. I'm a talker, and then gradually, maybe I think, stop talking, feel. And then the 5 minutes are over. And then when we had left the breakout room, back to you, because I do keep an eye on the time. I think, okay, this is time to leave. I don't want to stay. I'm a bit, well, precise. I like to be back on time, which is appropriate, I think. And then while I had checked out and come back to you, the group, I all of a sudden realized what my sensate feeling was. And that was in my body, warming up and then expanding. And it's related with beating, and it brings tears to my eyes now, how much I would almost say depend on other people. It's not depending, it's needing it. I find it difficult to be on my own and feel, now I'm going to sit, doesn't work for me. And now I know what my sensate feelings are, but not during the 5 minutes with the lovely young lady, Bev. You're lovely.
Yeah, so, as you say, it takes time. It's good to, 5 minutes is nothing really. We do a very short exercise here. But yeah, so it's lovely. So you get in touch with it a little afterwards. So what is this warm welling up?
Oh, now I can, it's almost like with tears in my eyes, and I have fiery cheeks, and I have this warming up in my heart.
Oh, the
area.
warming up is in your heart, eh?
It's in my heart, it's connection. I know I so much
Feels like connection.
need connection with the other person, even if I've never met them before.
What's the sensation there? If you sense that sensation in your heart, what does it feel like? What's the texture of it?
Yeah, see, that makes it, I can feel the expanding, and I can feel, but I have never been taught or to be so explicit as other people are sometimes. I'm not, I can't find the words. I can only sense.
Beautiful. And so that's so good. That's natural, right? Many people will find that. So then you just give yourself lots of time, right? Okay, so you know it's expanding. You just feel the expanding. It feels warm.
And I feel softness, and I feel my eyes, as I said, almost teary, almost. Not quite. I don't cry so easily, but it's now talking about it, it goes away, it disappears.
So there's like a teariness in your eyes, and there's heat in your face and your cheeks.
An expansion in my body, in the expansion of the heart area.
Oh, and as that's happening, how's that affecting you? How are you feeling?
My feeling then is I'm so grateful for the Ridvan, which I've been with for quite a number of years, to gain access to my heart. That is the Ridvan, access to my heart.
Right. So you're sensing your heart.
And I get this feeling, this thought, how wonderful. I learned this in the Ridvan. It's a thought again, you see.
Yeah. So there's no need to dismiss that, right? So the understanding, the recognition, and the appreciation and the gratitude, right? And the sensing your heart directly itself. It's all part of the experience, right?
The gratitude that I'm maybe the oldest, almost the oldest, I know one lady, and gratitude also that I am given all these years. I started late in life to still at my age experience, learn, grow. I can hardly believe it.
Beautiful.
Grace.
Very lovely. Yes, great.
That's a different sensation again in my body. I could start describing it, but
there you go. Right. Exactly.
It's good enough. Thank you. There's more people who.
That's lovely. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I'll go on and do a bit of in myself.
Exactly. That sounds good. Okay.
Thank you all for being witnesses.
Yeah, Dory, go ahead.
Hello, thank you. For me, the experience was really interesting to really sense the changing nature of my body's reactions, like just sensing the sensations changing. And when we were going into breakout rooms, I quickly checked in with myself. I was like, what's at the center of, what's the most prominent sensation? And it was my tired eyes. So it seems like I already was prepared. I have this tendency to always prepare for things. But once I got into the, into contact with my partner, the eyes didn't even come close. I noticed a lot of tension in my neck, and then there was a lot of tension in my heart. And I have also a pattern of avoiding things, so I could sense the avoidance. I was sensing it's gonna take me away, down to other areas, and avoiding this heart center. But I said, no, I want to stay here. And I think it was also related to the fact that I want to avoid being seen. I want to be seen, but there's this pattern of avoiding, avoiding and not letting myself be seen. So there was a lot of tension in my heart,
Right.
because somebody was staring at me, is actually looking at me and seeing me.
Yeah.
And I literally felt the sympathetic nervous system come on board, because there was this intense heat from my neck down. I was sweating like profusely. My fingers, I could feel like, sweat is dripping down. I was that wet. It's like the system is coming online to protect me and make me run away or whatever, and I couldn't. So anyway, it was just interesting to
So it sounds like there was a lot
feel
of
the sensation.
exactly. Yes, that's the point. So when you say your sympathetic system was coming online to protect you, well, maybe, right? Maybe not. What you can tell for sure is there was a lot of heat, sounds like, right? There was heat and there was energy, right? That you could definitely feel. Right?
And the interesting thing was, I was just sitting there. Nothing had, I wasn't running. I was, and it just like came on out of nowhere. And it was very interesting to just sense it and be with it.
Right. Wonderful. And it sounds like you have some sense that it's like connected with this whole question of being seen, wanting to be seen, not being seen, all of that. Right. So again, it's meaningful. It's not just random kind of experience, but it has significance. That's great. I'm glad you got to see that.
Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah. The more we can just be open with the experiences and kind of let them happen and see what they are, and tell the meaning of it from how it affects us, right? So if you feel heat like that, right, you can say, well, like, how do I feel as I'm in touch with that heat? Do I feel excited? Do I feel afraid? Do I feel energetic or angry? Whatever it is. But you'll be able to tell from the immediate experience itself, right, something about what it's about. Yeah, great. Yeah, Diana, go ahead.
Yes, that was profound, extraordinarily, really deeply peaceful it became. And there was something about absolutely staying with the sensation of the belly, because I think often in inquiries, okay, I can get the sensation of the belly, but then I'll start looking around for what this is about, and I'll get up into the head and get distracted. This was simply 5 minutes of allowing the body sensation to lead. It helps enormously. The presence of my partner was very stabilizing, or I felt very stabilized doing the exercise.
I love how you say that, Diana. So letting the sensation lead. That's
yes. I aware how little I do that. I just jump out of it quickly, trying to find all sorts of insights and explanations instead of just staying.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was peaceful, you said.
It was very peaceful. And it's like sitting on the edge of the ocean and watching the waves recede and come in. And I thought, I've been doing this for 84 years. Why is it so rare that I sense it?
Lovely.
So
yeah, we seem to
Yeah.
appreciate it. It seems to be something really that you like about it. Being in touch with felt sense like that.
yeah, indeed. Thank you.
Enjoy, yes.
Yeah.
Do your inquiry like that. Lead with your, let the sensation lead. Well, if nothing else, you have it as an option, right? So you know at any time you can, well, now I'm going to let the sensation lead for a while and let's see where that takes me. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Michael.
Hi there. Just following on from what Diane was saying about letting the sensation lead. Yeah, the sensation. It seems to me one of the biggest problems is that we don't have a language around, particularly heart and guts. Cerebrally, yeah, we can. This is words and expression of ideas. It's all very natural. But the language of the heart seems to me to be embracing, and you feel the warmth. And how do you project that warmth? How do you communicate that warmth? And with the guts, it's a similar, I was going to say problem, but it's a similar issue. I think that it's trying to verbalize the sensations is very difficult because, again, as Diane was saying, yeah, they've been around for a long time. And you know, we get billions of bits of information about the state of our body at any particular time, but we've got to filter those things out. Or 7 plus or minus 2 and all that.
Yeah.
But it's something I'd really like to explore, not just here now, but just generally about having a language.
Yes.
Does it? How I've experienced my guts in the past is just movement. I move, and trying to convey that to somebody else when you're just moving.
Right.
It's an interesting idea, and I think it'll be keeping me amused for a few years.
Yeah, sounds amazing. I would highly recommend that. I mean, you point to a very, very important thing, right? Which is, you know, that often we don't have straight up the connection between our language and our sensate experience, right? Just like it's the same with our feelings, actually. Like often you're feeling, you know, you don't exactly know what you're feeling. You're sensing, you know, there's a sensation there, but you can't instantly articulate it or verbalize it. And so it's very important to give yourself lots of time to just hang out with it, to not know, you don't really know what it is. It's a bit like this, it's a bit kind of feels a little bit deep or not much, or, well, it kind of feels solid. Yeah, so maybe solid is a good word, right? And what you'll find is as you let yourself play with that and you just give yourself time to practice, right? Little by little, it'll come more easily and more readily. So I often compare this kind of cultivating this is like wine tasting. You know, it's like learning to taste the wine, and the longer you taste it and you begin to notice different subtleties in the flavor, that the first time around you can't even tell red wine from white wine, right? So it's the same thing, right? Oh, I feel something. People say, well, I feel something in my belly. Okay. Well, what kind of something? Let me just stay with that something and see what else can I say about it as I just hang out, take my time, be easy, just as if I'm like watching a coral reef under the water and I'm kind of holding something in my hand and going, well, what is it? Well, it feels kind of cool and smooth. Seems to have a bit of a shape. Right? So it's that same kind of inner touchy sensing exploration, right? To let yourself feel, whether it's your belly or any part of your body, right? Your hand, you can feel into the sensations of your hand and Like, what does it feels kind of fluid and wavy and sort of not even sure it feels like a hand right now, you know, it feels like, so to just give yourself that time to be with the sensation, pay attention to the sensation, and then let the words come that connect with it and express it for you.
Yeah, and this is the diving is just brilliant because you do it with somebody else. They're there to witness you, and you have the time,
yeah,
to immerse yourself, to drop into it, and experience it.
Yeah, lovely.
Thank you.
I wish you lots of happy diving. All right, everyone. I think that brings us to a close for this evening. Yeah, bang on time, unusually. So thank you very much for coming along. It was lovely to be with you all again. And we meet again in a month. I don't have the exact date with me. If you're on the mailing list, you'll get the details there. If you don't, go to dive-in.life, dive-in.life, and all the details are there on the website, particularly if you go to the Connect page. This forum is really open to anybody. So if you know anybody who would like it or enjoy it or find it helpful in developing their practice of inquiry or in discovering inquiry, please feel free to point them to the page or invite them along. Everybody is welcome. And it's been a pleasure being with you, and I look forward to seeing you next month. So I'm going to end by ringing the bell, and then we will unmute and say goodbye. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. All right. So just a moment of sensing, looking, listening as we end.
Thank you.
Right. Good night. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
See you on Friday.
Yes. See you then.